Good morning, Gloria.
Good morning.
Gloria was up early. What time did you get up this morning?
You don't want to know.
Gloria
Four
was up-
o'clock.
4 a.m., which is normal for you because she was on CNN this morning speaking about the Epstein case. Gloria, you're representing how many women?
27 survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. And I've been
Louder,
representing them
please.
for a number of years.
I actually just got goosebumps, if you can take pictures of those. Gloria, thank you for joining us today. And I want to, this is going to be a serious conversation. So we're coming from namaste and love to how to protect yourself, which is self-love in a different way. Gloria.
Well, in other words, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to fight for justice against rich, powerful men or women who have sexually abused you and taken advantage of their position of power in order to harm you, and how and when to do something about it.
So, Gloria, you've been doing this for how many years now?
50.
And, I mean...
Let me just say, if I may add to that, there's a saying in the women's movement that it's the only movement in which the participants become more radical as they get older. Do you agree?
Yes. I'm not going to name drop it. If you want to Google, Gloria has represented lots of people who bold-faced names that you will know. Right now, you're very focused on the Epstein case, but I want to ask you, just take a step back. Sexual harassment in the workplace, in the world, is it still happening today? We were hearing about the Epstein stuff from long ago, but what about today in 2025?
Okay, sexual harassment in the workplace and outside of the workplace is still frequent, severe, pervasive. It's still going on. That's the bad news. Good news is there is something that you can do about it. And I'm going to share some of those somethings that you probably never learned about in college, in graduate school, or in any other place in your education.
Share away.
Okay. Well, there are many things you can do about sexual harassment. The main thing is, and by the way, many of you younger women and men who have really studied hard, and how many students are here still in university or higher education of some kind? Okay. And so how many have ever heard about sexual harassment in the workplace and learned what you could do about it? Nobody. And that's what I thought. Okay. All right. So sexual harassment, what you can do about it is different in every state. And I know there are people from many different states, probably some other countries as well. And so you'll need to consult a lawyer in your state. But essentially, it's unwelcome words or conduct or misconduct in the workplace. You'll know it when you see it. It can be words. It can be misconduct. Misconduct, for example, showing you pornography. Someone wanting you, essentially, to have sex with them. Maybe it's a supervisor. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's the CEO or the COO of your corporation. And you're concerned that if you say no, that you may lose your job. But the truth is, if you say yes, you may also lose your job at some point when he gets tired of you or she gets tired of you. So the question is, what can you do about it? You do have rights. Some people are in fear. Many people are in fear when they are a victim of sexual harassment or sexual abuse because they're afraid that if they complain, even though their corporation or government tells you, yeah, please complain, they're afraid they're going to lose their job if they complain, that they'll be considered a troublemaker. The truth is, what you need to do is you need to document, at least for yourself, what has happened to you every day and how you are being a victim of sexual harassment. If there's an HR, which there usually is in large companies, you need to complain to HR and do it in writing, okay?
How do you
Now-
recommend that people document? What should they be keeping track of? Do you have to
Keeping
do
track of-
time, date, place?
Good. Time, date, place, what he has said. I'll say he for the purposes of this discussion. What he has said, what he has done. Okay? Keep all the emails that he sent you, the direct messages, the texts, and all of that. Recently, I was able to help a woman obtain a multi-million-dollar settlement, and part of it is because she did keep everything as we had told her to do. And that was very hard for the major corporation to defend against. I would like to give you just an example. There's many examples of sexual harassment. You can file a lawsuit, but most cases that you'll never hear about are not found in lawsuits. You generally don't hear about lawsuits. Sometimes you do. That's usually because settlement has not been successful. So I want to tell you about one lawsuit to give you an example of what we did and why I take this seriously. Just a few years ago, we had a case for Mahim Khan versus Alki David, who was a billionaire. And we filed a lawsuit for her, and the jury came back and awarded our client, Ms. Khan, $58,250,000, and that did not even include an award of attorney's fees, which we also won afterwards, so it wouldn't have to come out of the verdict. So what happened to her in the workplace? Well, the evidence in the case was that Alki David would walk into her cubicle while she was working, swivel her chair until she faced him, and then grab her neck and thrust it towards his pelvic area while making moaning sounds. This happened 2 or 3 times a week. Mr. David would then zip up his pants, say thanks to her, and walk away. The jury also heard evidence that on multiple occasions, Alki David grabbed her vagina. One witness testified that she saw him come up behind Ms. Khan, put his hand between her legs, and grab her vagina. There was also testimony from Ms. Khan and another witness that Mr. David grabbed Ms. Khan's breasts on numerous occasions, and on one such occasion, exposed her breasts. She also testified that she was working in a conference room when he shoved her into a chair and performed a lap dance while placing his hand behind her head and pressing his pelvic area towards her head. He also did what he called the mangina at work, where he dropped his pants and underwear and tucked his genitals between his legs. He was completely naked with his pants down around his ankles while he waddled like a duck as he did a little dance. These events and others had a devastating impact on Ms. Khan. She suffered enormously, including feeling suicidal at various times. She testified that she felt like she has a scarlet letter on her back. We argued that the scarlet letter should be transferred to him, and the jury verdict of $52,250,000 was designed just to do that. So she was severely depressed. She had flashbacks. She went to a therapist. Bottom line is that this huge verdict, which was that year the largest in California for one individual who suffered sexual harassment, sent a clear message to Mr. David and those like him that these kinds of behavior will not be tolerated in the workplace. So every time he wakens or goes to sleep, he should remember this $58,250,000 award to her that the LA County jury found. And this was affirmed on appeal. So we are now in the process of collecting.
So, Gloria, I'm sitting here listening to you read that, and I got angry. Did anybody else in this room feel that? I mean, I felt violated myself just hearing that. How do we protect ourselves in those situations? Okay. How do we even stop that from happening?
Yeah, great question. So this was a teaching moment for him, and I literally believe that it's important for the wrongdoer, the harasser, or the rapist, or the child sexual abuser, any of them. The way to give them a teaching moment is to speak to them in the language they understand, which means literally make them pay the consequences. I referred earlier, Lauren, to the fact that some people are afraid to file a lawsuit. They don't want their name out there in the press. They don't want to give interviews. They want their privacy, but they do want justice and accountability. So here's how most cases are handled. They're not handled by lawsuits. They're handled pre-litigation, meaning without a lawsuit. So in other words, somebody comes to me, she tells me what happened. Of course, all communications with every lawyer, including me, are confidential, whether or not she goes ahead and asserts her rights. So what we do is we do a confidential settlement. The press hates those because they can never find out what went on. And they shouldn't, because the client wants her privacy and she's entitled to that. So we do a confidential process. And what that entails is, for example, and this is common to other attorneys too, so it's not just me and my law firm, but we'll talk to the client, we'll see what kind of evidence she has. She usually has more evidence than she thinks she has. She usually says, well, it's my word against him, but we dive down and we find out there's more. But you know, her word is evidence too. A woman's word has value. That's pretty radical these days, but it's true. So we will essentially accumulate we will contact the other attorney, tell them we represent the victim. We will suggest a confidential settlement process, which is called a mediation. That's a form of dispute resolution. And if they agree to it, we set a date. We have a neutral person both sides agree to. It's called a mediator, who may be a retired judge or just a lawyer who's a professional mediator who knows how to get settlements. Usually, the big, powerful, famous man does agree to it. And then we meet on one day, often on Zoom, and they don't have to do it in person anymore. And we're all on Zoom. The other side never gets a chance to ask any question of our client or even say hello. And we don't ask questions directly of them either. And they don't see me, which they definitely don't want to see me.
Well, I want to see you.
And we don't see them, but the mediator goes back and forth between the parties. And we've done a brief for her. The other side does a brief. She knows our side. She knows the defenses. This goes on all day. At the end of one day, we usually settle a case. Sometimes it goes on maybe another week. The mediator asks for another week to try to get more money, maybe from insurance, maybe from the wrongdoer. But I'll say 98% of the time, cases settle in mediation. There's never going to be a lawsuit. You're never going to hear about it. There are non-monetary terms like you can't disparage her, and so forth. So then she preserves her reputation. A future employer is never going to know she asserted a claim against that CEO or other powerful person in her life. Powerful people are not just people you see. We've gone against people in the entertainment industry. That's okay. Entertainment industry, sports, politics, business, religion, you name it, we've gone against people in that. Powerful people may be people in your own life. They never employed you, but maybe it's a stepfather who sexually abused you. Maybe it's somebody in the sports world. So it doesn't have to be a celebrity. It's a powerful person, and most women have powerful people in their lives. Often,
we're in a building
advantage
of powerful people,
Go ahead.
right? Gloria, we talked about sexual harassment. We only have about 5 minutes left. I want to quickly talk about sex discrimination, which is also something that is very important to everyone in this room.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you said that, because sexual harassment is a form of sex discrimination in the law. Why do we want to prevent sexual harassment, sex discrimination? Because sexual harassment and sex discrimination are barriers to the enjoyment of equal employment opportunity. As I said earlier, if your boss is sexually harassing you or just victimizing you, like depriving you of a title for your job, or not paying you the same as men get, or failing to promote you the way they promote men. You're being discriminated against because of your sex. And that is wrong. You can't enjoy equal employment opportunity if these barriers are constantly being thrown in your way. They're not being judged on your merits, how many degrees you have, whether you have a great background in the financial world or anything else. The old boys club is still alive and well and existing in this world. And some of them feel a great deal of entitlement, and they feel threatened by women. They don't want women to be able to do the jobs they do or be supervised by women because, hey, if a woman can do it, they don't feel their job is all that important. And they want to feel important. And men are important, and many of them, by the way, are caring individuals. I've had 2 partners who are men, founded the law firm with me, and we always say a man of quality is not threatened by a woman of equality. So there are good men who support us. Some of them are here today, and we appreciate them. But we want justice for our daughters and our sisters and our mothers and our aunts. We want justice for them, and justice means they have to be accountable. It's not the victim who should pay for the wrong by suffering. It's the wrongdoer who should pay for the wrong against the victim.
Gloria, you gave a beautiful commencement speech at American University. You should Google it and watch it. Law school's commencement. And one thing you said to this class of 2025 law school graduates was, there's a war on the rule of law. What is happening in America is not normal. How can we fight back, to borrow your book title?
Well, I like the famous saying of Mother Jones, don't agonize, organize.
Don't agonize, organize.
Yeah, every single one of you in this room or watching on a streaming link can do something. If you do nothing, you're agreeing with the status quo, which is a deprivation of your rights, rights of minorities, rights of immigrants, so many other rights. Doing nothing is voting for that. Most of you don't want that, so you must do something. You can each do something. You can speak out. You can protest. You can be there. You can be there and be heard. There are protests going on every day all over this nation and some places elsewhere in the world. You can donate to organizations. In other words, besides using your feet and your voice to protest, you can make contributions to organizations that are filing lawsuits and going to the courts to attempt to vindicate their rights. So we have a threat to our democracy. We are now living in an authoritarian time in the United States. Let's not kid ourselves. Even though we can still go to a hair salon, we can still go to a dental appointment, we can still go shopping for nice clothes, we can go to weddings, bar mitzvahs, and funerals. We are living in an authoritarian time, and the only way to fight for that is now. Because if it gets worse, and it will, there'll be a point at which there's nothing we can do. Now's the time.
Well, we only have 1 minute left, Gloria, and I do want to leave people on a positive note. The legal system, does it still work?
It's flawed, as we can see in the Epstein case. It's corrupted, but it's the only system we have. It's just like, democracy doesn't always work, but it's still the best system that we have. We just have to work to make it better. I've always said, no one ever gives women any rights. No one ever has given any rights to women. Nobody will give this to you. You have to fight for it. So you can fight in a quiet, confidential settlement process to vindicate your rights, to assert your rights, to protect your rights. And believe me, that's a process he'll never forget, okay? Because he's used to usually a lot of yes people around him. He's not used to you standing up. The only way you're going to win respect and win dignity is stand up for yourself. And you deserve it. And then you're a role model for yourself your family, your coworkers, even if they never know about the fact that you settled. You are becoming transformed in that process. You're becoming transformed in the yoga process, and then you're further transformed because you who may think you could never seek justice, you can, and you will win, and you will become a transformed person in your life because that's what empowerment is. It has a ripple effect. Empowerment is contagious. And you're here today because you have been empowered. You are seeking answers, and you are seeking to improve yourself and the condition and status of women. So we have to join together to do this. And joining together, we will win.
We will win. Thank you so much, Gloria.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.